we're good to go. Dr. Ryan versus Jheffe, another TVP. This time in the round of 16, I believe. So, quarterfinals of this qualifier are going to be the qualifier matches. Qualifier matches. I'm talking so hard. Which are also best of 5. So, still on best of 3s here. Still a little ways to go for these guys to qualify. In the top right, as the yellow Protoss, really cool guy, he is Ryan. In the bottom left is the blue Terran, we have Jheffe. People without cats about to, like, mansplain cats to me. Can't even wait. Can't even wait. Personally, I've only ever dealt with, like, a few cats in my life. And I come up to them aggressively and want them to love me immediately. Because I have no tact. Just like my personal relationships. So the fact that cats are like, what the fuck, buddy? And run away from me and don't like me. Make me hate cats. So, because of that, I wonder, why does anyone like cats? That's literally what I hear anytime everyone's like, all cats are stupid, you're stupid to have a cat. It's the combo I have in my head. Anyways. We do have a slightly interesting thing to note. I'm going to explore first. I mean, it's not really interesting just because it is so common as a defensive maneuver. Reaper's a little tricky to deal with. I'm going to explore. Coming down first helps grab that Adept, or Stalker. Usually Adept. Out fast enough to deal with the Reaper before any damage is done. So it's always a little bit nice. A little nicer to do that. Maybe a little less economical, but especially on our shorter maps, I could see that happening for sure. But in the same way that it could be a little defensive, it always has that threat of being offensive, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so as you get a chrono on the Adept, which is totally normal, but still, it's an Adept by the time I export first, like, you do have to take this pretty seriously as a Terran player. Especially if you're not going to be going into any 2 or 3 racks build, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to be waiting on a reactor, if you're going to be waiting on a factory to finish, that bunker kind of needs to come down, or you're just going to have a lot of trouble. The Reaper's going to try and buy some time, but it will eventually want to just go around the Adept and still get that scout on a Twilight Council currently coming down.
Twitch Prime sub
The good news is the Adept won't be doing too much damage. Can still try to shade by and get a couple of SCVs if it would like. That's exactly what it's going to try and do here. I'm gonna say if he does. Oh my god, are you serious? Oh, flip the command center. Okay, I was gonna say if he's gonna shade, he's kind of stuck. Like he'll lose the Adept, but he lost it anyways. He did actually get the deny on the delay in the command center, which is just super annoying. What he was looking for, and that's a decent start there for Ryan. Gonna go for the Robo on the low ground, help build up a tiny bit of a wall here. He did not get any scouting done on the factory timing, because it was put down a little farther behind. It's gonna be a single Hellion just for the scouting of the Terran here. Thank you, Carl Hungus1 for the Twitch Prime sub. Is Ryan goes Dr. Ryan? It does equal Dr. Ryan, yeah. Yep. You know, I'm gonna tell you guys a true story, alright? I'm gonna be real with you guys. 8 plus years ago, the amount of actual cool North American players who weren't a bunch of little, trying to think of a nicer way to say asshole. You know, they were a little immature. Like, it was kind of difficult to find North American players that weren't all being a little annoying. There you go, a little annoying in chat. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. You would know the players who were cool and mature, and then you would know the players who definitely weren't. And there is a very good mix of the two in a lot of the online qualifiers. To be honest with you, I don't have any complaints in the last, like, 4 years. I've met a lot of these guys, like Philadelphia's, or just at, you know, DreamHacks they managed to qualify for. Cast them for a lot of Challenger, and actually a lot of them are really, really cool. Dr. Ryan's a little above and beyond just because he does go to a lot of people's Twitch chats and is a sub to many people. But yeah, all these guys are really cool. There's only 1 or 2 people I actively cheer against in general in StarCraft. Which might be different than the number I used to cheer against in years and years and years ago. Different time. This is actually gonna be a lot of pressure. That robo was only the start. 3 more gateways got slapped down on top of the first gateway you ever build. And I think Jheffe seeing a wall is like, why is there a wall? Oh, I know what's happening. As this would be the first time he's actually seen anything too suspicious. It is Everdream though, and this is a very popular build to do, so I think just knowing it was a Twilight Council, he was already mentally prepared for this. Tanks in a very nice position. 2 bunkers were available, so that one dying did not end up causing a cascading effect of first the bunker, then the SCVs, and the Marines, and the tank, and blah, 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 blah. It's actually not so bad. Single Banshee tried to do something here, didn't really get anything done, didn't even get that one Stalker, so that kind of sucks. It looks like it was mostly a distraction tactic as he swaps over to start up Stim. Now that Stim will be vulnerable. But with 3 tanks guarding the Stim, while sniping it might be worthwhile at like the minute mark, you know, like when it's already heavily invested into, I don't think that will actually happen. I don't think so. And sacrificing 5, 6 plus stalkers to get it when it's only like 20 seconds in, definitely not worth it. So it seems like this early pressure has just been completely rebuffed here. This was not what Ryan was hoping for. He's going to try and make something out of this, but nothing so far. Third Nexus is on the way. We got Charge on the way too. +1 armor finally started up here. Usually that is one of the downsides of doing this opener. You might be able to get a decent economy like you would with the just, you know, kind of defensive Twilight Council gateway openers, but usually in this circumstance, not a lot of upgrades. Actually, Jheffe did not get an engineering bay until just now. So, the upgrades will still be in favor of Ryan. Very crucial to have that +1 armor when you're going to be adding on so many zealots. And at least Ryan didn't actually sacrifice a whole lot of stalkers, right? If he had if he had thought he had a moment there and then moved into 3 tanks and lose all the stalkers, well, it's probably just GG. But I still give him a chance here. Still give him a chance. Their Nexus will be saturated very, very soon. Very soon. And Ryan still has a Warp Prism to constantly threaten that main base. And while initially it was with Stalkers, and that's not too big of a deal, a bunch of Zealots will be a big deal. Especially when the tanks actually move forward. Trying to take off some Marauders is actually going really nicely there. Took off 1, forced to stim. This medevac. Oh, is that going to survive? One less medevac to worry about. The Marines won't even grab this one very weak stalker. Ryan starting the defense off pretty well, but it is going to be a 2-base all-in, guys. Jheffe is going to get 1 upgrade, and that's it. And it's actually not even going to be done. Again, that was just that looked a little off-timed, and that's going to be a bit of a concern with +1 finishing up, and Ryan getting a decent start here. He's got a Warpers on the main base. He could absolutely pull back, and I think that he should now that tanks are siege, but actually he's going to go for it. He's running out of the Zealots, though, so I'm not sure that was completely intentional. Ooh, that might have been a little bit of a mistake. May have been. If he jumps on them when the tanks are unsieged, then, like, more power to him, but when we're running out of the Zealots, suddenly the tanks do a lot of damage, and that is going to be a choke there for Ryan Stalkers. The Immortal's not able to actually get on top of the tanks either, but looks like the Zealots with their +1 armor have been able to chew through everything. And Dr. Ryan will take game number 1. And didn't look too... That's actually a really well played PvT. I feel like... While sometimes those 4-gate openers do that, they don't do anything, and then it's you know, a totally fine game for the Protoss, and Terran players go, super cool. That's super cool. Usually there's something that's is given up to do that. But I think Jheffe might have just still been thrown off so much by the fear, by having to deal with the Blinkstalker aggression, that was not the most ideal 2-base SEV push for the Terran player. Eternal Empire. In the bottom left, we have the yellow Protoss Ryan. In the top right, as the blue Terran, it is Jheffe. I guess now is a good of a time as any. Yeah, how about we don't be jerks in the chat? You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be cool if everyone was chill with each other? Yeah. Stop it. I think the 1 or 2 people in chat know I'm talking to them. It's a good game by Ryan. Jheffe went for the 2 base all in, especially without that +1 upgrade. It looked a little off. And then on top of that, having a couple units picked off when they shouldn't be, and I don't know, Ryan just actually having a good read in the situation and a good flexibility for the game as well. I just felt like he was in a good position. I don't know if Jheffe is really planning on doing any SCV pulls this time around. Might have been the thing he was planning on doing on Evergreen no matter what. But it also may have been just like, okay, I already feel like I'm desperate here. It actually could have even been, okay, I think he's going to be weak. Be dedicated to this. He might not have an upgrade. He might not have enough charge lots. I'm going to go for it. And for that, I don't even... Yeah, that probably works a decent amount of times, but not that game. But Eternal Empire is the longest map we have, alongside Ice and Chrome, I think, maybe? One of the other maps. Anyways, and I don't know if an SCV pool is really going to be warranted here, but Jheffe did do that against Pili as well, just a little bit later. More 3 bases than not. Thank you very much, Mind Distorter. Mind Distorter for the 4-month resub. Thank you for the amazing casting and content. Aw, thanks. Thanks, buddy. People saying that when I talked about annoying NA players, thinking that I was talking about Adria. Definitely not. Adria was actually pretty easy for tournament organizers and casters to deal with. I don't think I've ever heard too many complaints. He was always willing to invite the casters. One of the more annoying things that used to happen back in the day. And this wasn't just NA players, actually. This was Korea players, more so, actually. But anyways, is that even as official casters, they were very picky about letting people into lobbies, and that was always really annoying. People would take offense to some casters who were casting back then. There's a bit more of a caster-player war going on back in the good old days. So that was kind of annoying. Or they just forgot. So it wasn't even that they were malicious, they just forgot. And that's really changed. I mean, if we're talking about IEM qualifiers where they would intentionally not invite you, or forget to invite you, or kick you because you lagged a little bit, which, that happened. But anyways, to today, where the observer lag doesn't affect the games as much, where the players know to make their lobbies with GameHeart, where they're actively linking their lobbies, like, oh my god, it's actually night and day. It's so insane how different it is. But anyways, I was definitely talking about players who more so in the chat channel would be trolls, basically. Just be little shits sometimes, you know what I mean? Not the worst, but the best either. We do have another aggressive opener from Ryan, but this time not a 4-gate. And it's actually more the middle of the road here. So pure macro would be 2-gate. And then last game we saw that 4-gate version. Here it is just 3 gateways, but it is the decision to go attack with these stalkers. Not build into forges, not build into a 3rd base. In fact, not even getting a 3rd gas quite yet, and actually warping in these zealots. But Jheffe, once again, is going to be prepared. He saw another wall off, which is already a big sign. And 3 gateways at this point, yeah, is also a sign that you are going to be attacked. The Viking, unfortunately, is going to get target fired alongside the tank. The bunker might hold, but 2 crucial units getting taken down. Can the rest of the Marines do this? I think think they can. The War Prism actually goes down. The Stalkers get completely surrounded, and this actually was a disaster for Ryan. Very much so night and day for the games here. Damn. When the Viking and tank went down, I was like, oh no, is this gonna be one of those games where you just like loses all morale because Blink Stalkers are super cool? Or not Blink Stalkers, actually, just gateways. That's the biggest difference that I kind of, I shouldn't have glossed over, but I was trying to get ready for the action. But no, not just 3 gateways, no blink, right? So faster, but perhaps more potent because of its being faster. In this case, ended up being weaker. Couldn't actually blink away, despite grabbing some crucial units, and now Ryan has to recover from that, so that's going to be tough to do. No blink, which also means that Twilight Council in general is late, so we're not going directly into charge. Forge was delayed, Robotics Bay, an interesting choice, but off of 2 bases, also delayed from what it would usually be. Also slaps down a 3rd Nexus. Like, everything coming down at once is not actually that great of a sign, right? You want to have them down as fast as possible in a build order to be as efficient as possible and have them for crucial moments, like an eventual counterattack by Jheffe. Well, to call it a counterattack is a bit strong, I suppose, but an eventual attack by Arzarin when Stim and Combat Shields get close to finishing. So, I was like, well, he needs a starport. Okay, it's all the way back there. Yeah, so once you have those upgrades, once you have a couple of medevacs, you can push forward. Ryan will have a Colossus. He'll have charge. Not quite going to have range of +1, I don't think, but there won't be a lot of units to talk about to actually defend here. So maybe a direct attack would be something that Ryan could hold with good force fields, with good control, maybe a shield battery with overcharge helping out, right? Multi-pronged attacks should be quite difficult for Ryan to defend against. And we'll see if Jheffe actually goes for that. There's the attack. With Stim and Combat Shields already done, looks like the Engineering Bay was, again, like not maybe as fast as it could have been when you compare some of the defenses to like an Innovation or a TY, but at least it's on the way. It's still a decent army supply, and that's why I was like trying to highlight that maybe the drop potential of this army would be the scariest thing. 2 Colossus are actually available. Exterior Thermal Lance is done. And also +1 finish up before anything actually happened. I did think Jheffe was going to push more long with Stim and Combat Shields finishing than waiting and then pushing, you know what I mean? But either way, I don't know if there was really potential for the direct push like I was talking about. He does try to drop now. That's really not a lot of units, but even though he knows now, the Reaper just saw the other half of the army over here, way out of position, Jheffe decides not to go for the drop. You don't know if they're going to have 6 Zealots warp in or not, after all, I guess. But actually, might have been opportunity. Didn't go for it. He's going to set up another army to the right side to try and at least stop any potential 4th base. This army, a lot of Marines here, will die pretty quickly to the Zealots and the Colossus. So forced to kite away from the Zealots that are as fast as Stimmed Marines. So that only works so well. Recall on the 3rd base as he's pylon, I believe. Yeah, I did just scout the drop to the right side. Jeffe's trying to pull him out of position, but it looks like Ryan has gotten over that hump of just not a lot of units. The scariest point for Protoss. And he's actually looking quite comfortable defending at least his natural and 3rd base. But the main was certainly a little under-defended. Did not have a recall, does not have a recall now. And that is in a Tosis Pylon a little bit up there, canceling Blink. Warp Prism Speed and +2. Goes for these pylons instead on the gateways and then gets out of there. I would have liked the pylon with the upgrades more so. I guess if he's thinking I'm just going to continue hammering here with the drops, then less warp-ins is better, but I actually think that he's kind of done with that. The potential was never truly that high, it seems. And now Ryan has an appropriate number of units every which way. Does find... Uh-oh. Finds the army with his Warp Prism. Not ideal there. Good pick-off for Jheffe. Back at home, he has 3 bases. Got a tank covering his 3rd. Is going to recollect his army. Oh, catch a Colossus as well. the War Prism and the Colossus going down. There's that point where the Terran player doing a bunch of drops has to worry about if their macro back home was good enough, that they have enough Vikings, especially, right, against Colossus counts that are building and building and building. But by taking down a Colossus and the War Prism, Ryan's attack just doesn't work anymore.
Prime summon received.
Thinking he can take advantage of his Colossus tech just doesn't work anymore. Overcharge is instantly taken out. He's forced to come back home to defend his third, which he will be able to do. With only pylons and shield batteries going down, it really wasn't that great of a loss, but Ryan also still has not gotten to that fourth base. Jheffe is building up that Viking count that looks quite nice against 2 Colossus. I'd say maybe 2 more Vikings, and that'd be perfect. He's finally going to lose the drops here. Be killing 9 probes and a handful of structures. But, he's already built up enough of an army back home that sometimes when you lose those drops, you're like, oh my god, do I have enough army? He definitely does. He definitely has enough army to hold on. He's got a 4th base on the way. He's got 2-2 started up here, where Ryan only on single forge only has +2. One thing I would like is, as I said, maybe 1 or 2 more Vikings, and then also if he could kill this flipping observer. This is getting so much free information. Thank you, Warwick, for the 2-month resub. Ryan's still looking to kind of posture around the Terran army. It's not a bad idea when you have force fields and Colossus to try and just pick off units, make the Terran uncomfortable. But at a certain point, the Terran's Marauder count, upgrades, and Viking count gets a little too high. Are we there yet? Jheffe has quite the supply lead overall. 4th base is going to be canceled, however. Going to pull back on those Zealots. I don't know if Ryan should actually be pushing in like this. It seems a little bit dangerous. We've got a few more units coming out reinforcement-wise. Guardian Shield available, but Colossus going down pretty quickly. Tank finally falls, but got quite a few shots. And the force fields, I mean, actually at this point, accidentally helping Jheffe a little bit. With the Vikings landed to clean up the rest of the army, I do believe Ryan's going to have to tap out. His War Prism comes in as the fight is completely over. And those reinforcing Zealots are not going to be enough. There's the scan of the third and Nexus. I guess determining how far ahead am I? How much was that 4th base loss a big deal? And doesn't see any reinforcing units. Does see a saturated 3rd base, but that's all. That's there's no 4th base. There's no army. Ryan's on a 9 army supply, and I'm a little surprised that Ryan didn't just go ahead and tap out. That was not a very good fight. I think it would have been better to, as I was saying, just kind of posture and hey, if there is a good fight, to take it, right? But that was not the fight he was hoping for. It was not the fight to take. That was the you come to me and I'll constantly, you know, slice off a unit here and there. And then if you ever really pounce on top of me, I throw it on the force fields and get the heck out of there. That's more so what the army was, I think, supposed to do, but forced to engage completely, lost the complete army, and Jheffe just needs to not be scared. I do see Terran players sometimes just get scared on the macro maps up against Protoss. They think they have to go into Liberators when they actually have a lot of flexibility for the micro and the mobility of medevacs. They have a decent army. They can actually bully the Protoss, and they just don't. I don't think that's actually possible in this game, to throw it that way. Like, Jheffe would have to wait a very long time to get to give Ryan more time back into this game. He'd have to wait like 4 minutes. And I don't think he will. He's not pushing immediately, despite having a 50 supply lead and better upgrades. But better safe than sorry. Are there a couple of DTs? Yes, that was like all of his DTs. All 4 DTs went into the natural, and he got immediately scanned. Ouch. Oh, man. Oh, jeez. Yeah, okay. One behind Dark Shrine. Sometimes that can buy you a lot of time, but not this game, not this game. Disruptor's also a very good comeback tool, so, I mean, hey, it was the perfect combination. If you're going to try and come from behind, Dark Shrine and Disruptor's the way to do it, so good decision. So far, poor execution. Oh my god, the amount of Archons is kind of insane, but the EMPs just do not give a crap about that. The one Disruptor shot's gonna be good, and yet still so much more army left over. GG. And now we are tied up, 1-1. Alright, they think the last map is Pillars of Gold. Okay, we're gonna go with Pillars of Gold for the last map. The last TVP. Well, not really. But the last one of this series. Who's gonna make it through? In the bottom left is the yellow Protoss. It is Ryan. In the top right as the blue Terran. He is Jheffe. For Sloth Esports. Ryan, not on a team / clan. Not one that I recognize anyways. Oh wait, Exxon. Oh wait. I looked at X and then a capital O and just like in my head I was like, oh, well that's clearly two completely different words smashed together. But now that I say it out loud, I realize that Exxon is a team. They were actually on the Pylon show. My bad. Okay. Are these top GM players ever heard of them? Yes, they are actually. When it comes to the North American GM leaderboard, it's always a little deceiving because you have a decent amount of Koreans playing on North America. Well, I shouldn't say decent amount. That makes it sound like it's like 20 or something. You have very popular Koreans like Parting playing on North America. You have the big three still occasionally playing ladder on North America, although two of them live in Korea, Special Scarlet and then Neeb. And then you have people who actually are in North America, playing in North America, participating in these qualifiers, and trying to hit the top three. Which are very difficult to do when you're getting kind of a little bit smurfed by Parting. Or, yeah, it's actually kind of what ruins the ladder a little bit. But anyways, no, there's lots of good North American players. They just get overshadowed by the Europeans, because when we force all these people together, the Europeans typically come out more so on the top 16.
Twitch Prime
Thank you very much. 13.
Thank you for appeasing the overmind.
13 teeth for the Twitch Prime sub, as well as Jay Geeped for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate it. Thanks, Changer Mode. So anyways, yes, these guys are in GM. Many of them are going to be that top 100 GM. Some of them on the qualifier might be actually the bottom half of GM. But yeah, this is what North America has to offer. These guys alongside the people who have already qualified and the people that were invited. Never forget that. Alright, so what do we got here? Ryan went for a Blink Stalker 4-gate, then he went for just a regular Stalker 3-gate. This game, he is going to go for Blink, and we'll count how many gateways he gets. It's counting with ZombieGrub. Jheffe has gone for 1-1-1 setup here, Helene for some scouting, as well as some early game defense if the Adept is too annoying. Adept's going to take some heat, but actually escape this game. And he's going to go into that Widowmine drop, so pretty standard stuff here. Reaper wants to stay alive long enough to get back in to see the amount of gateways. And again, if there's a wall, I don't think Ryan can actually wall with his current setup. The pylon's a little too close, I think. And it looks like there is only one gateway coming down, so the Jheffe can get back in there, perhaps with the Hellion, perhaps the Reaper. I'll identify it more as a macro build. Pillars of Gold is a decently sized map, but it does have the third base complication. It doesn't really look too easy to defend the third base. You get concaved on. You don't have a high ground, you don't have a choke working for you. Oh, I spoke too soon. 3 gateways do come down, 2 extra coming down a little bit later than the first one, so a bit of deception here with the current setup. We come down to the main base. He's walled against the Reaper. He's walled with just the amount of units he has against the Scout in the front. And this is potentially deadly. Now, Jheffe has gotten some scouting on this build, or the I didn't even realize that was off-center. Anyways, he's gotten some scouting on the aggression. A little bit later, but I think he's also been prepping for the aggression, right? Like, he just knows this is something that Dr. Ryan is going to do. And he is correct in, once again, guarding himself against the 4-gate. He's got a bunker. He's got a bunker. He's building tanks. Definitely the right thing to do here. Last time Ryan went for the 4-gate blink, he actually used it pretty appropriately. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, I got a good shot. It is killable. There's no armory available, but that was a good shot. Anyways, he did a good job of deciding when to back off. Didn't necessarily do a lot of damage, but he was able to macro out of it pretty well, and Jheffe's SCD pool didn't really work out so hot. So let's see if he makes the right decision making here on Pillars of Gold. You do have some space to elevator up your stalkers. Obviously, they can also blink up, but it depends on how you want to play this out. If you elevator them, then maybe you can jump on top of a tank that thinks it's the boss. In this case, Jheffe's been very good about building extra bunkers, so it's a little more difficult than that. Jump on top of this one bunker. What is even happening with this tank? What are you even doing? Okay, I don't know what that was, but the bunker does go down. This tank was doing its job. Thank God for this tank. The stalkers did take a lot of damage. Another bunker to have to go through, though. SCDs are pulled in here. He's going to go for the tank itself. Unfortunately, the high ground tank was just not made scouted, was not known about. That is a little... I mean, that's a problem. That's that Ryan should actually have anticipated at least one other tank, if not two other tanks, being available. This one literally just popped out. Unfortunately, it takes a big old blast to the Stalker's face and still has to deal with bunkers. Two tanks not getting shots on the forward Stalkers. Marines helping to get some last shots on these, and Ryan commits, I think, more than he did in that first game. 9 Stalkers are killed here, plus he lost the probes, which he didn't do in previous games. This time around, while he does go fast into the charge, he also is going to add on a robotics bay for some quick Colossus, I would guess. There's definitely a chance he goes into disruptors. Either way, defending this third base with a concave is going to be difficult for both of those units. This concaves are good against splash. Colossus is a little more dependable, though, but disruptor is a little more of that Hail Mary, right? This Warp Prism is not going to be seen by the medevacs, but also vice versa. And double medevacs headed towards the third when Ryan still is offensive with his stalkers is potentially problematic. They unload before they hit it. Third Nexus is almost done. He really does not want to cancel this, but he has so few units. We're talking about a single Immortal, a Colossus that's not going to pop anytime soon, and Ryan, he just missed this. He missed it entirely. The Immortal goes down to a handful of Marines without any deaths on their part. Recall is used, but on Stalkers, so the Marines could actually even try and start to target these down. They don't have combat shields, so they're going to try and take the easy way out by boosting off in the medevacs, and they are good. And joining up with the rest of their army. Ryan can only chase so much. Losing an Immortal sucks. Losing 6 probes sucks, but at least he saved his Nexus, and a Colossus is on the way. With this Warp Prism, it really wants to do something about buying time here. It looks like it already missed its opportunity to do so. Now Ryan needs to warp in everything back at home to even defend. He sets up the Warp Prism, but doesn't have any warp ins. He just used them. Two tanks really helping to anchor this push. There's a decent amount of distance between the third base being attacked and this kind of abusive tank position. So it's still fairly fair. It's not terrible, but it is complicated. As you can see, as the bio starts to move forward, they're covered by the tanks. Ryan's forced to retreat. He's waiting for the extended thermal lance. He's waiting for the +1, and he really would like this Warp Prism to do some serious economic damage, but I'm not sure it will. 2 tanks can target fire much of anything they want. The Zealots go down pretty quickly. The Winterminds aren't even being popped. The Zealots go down so quickly. And Jheffe's concave is looking just too good. 2 Colossus are going to fall under the weight of the bio. SCVs are going down back at home, but it's only 4 Zealots, and they are being cleaned up. A single Colossus is the survivor here. The third Nexus down to the red is not going to be saved. A simple stim and focus fire. And that is down. The warp in turns slow, by the way, as soon as that happens. And Ryan, well, he has to tap out. GG. Jheffe struggles a little bit with the first game, but always had the correct defense against the early aggression. It was more about his follow-ups.